Welcome everyone. It is officially season 3 of the podcast. I'm Cela, and if you have heard the previous seasons of Each Page Flow, you might be in for the rambling and ranting and review of a new book. But also excited to find out what I thought of it. Before that, season 3 of the podcast will be for the sequels and or the prequels of books. But why? Because it makes life fun. So, enough of the chit chat. I get it. You are here most likely because of the newest Hunger Games books, or simply Sunrise on the Reaping, which will be the first episode of season 3. This is a prequel to the original trilogy and a sort of sequel to the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but not really. You can read this one without reading the one about President Snow, and no, that is not spoilers. But there will be spoilers about Sunrise on the Reaping if you haven't read it, or if you don't know anything about the Hunger Games. Now, let's begin. About this fictive Hunger Games and Haymitch. Like I said, this is my warning for you. There will be spoilers. So let's start. Sunrise on the Reaping is the book about the fictive Hunger Games, or the second quarterquell of the Hunger Games, as established by the capital, Lomago. Each quarter, there will be a special and a randomly type of game that will be picked. The first quarterquell, the 25th game, the victor is unknown, but the twist for that particular games, the 25th, the twist was that the districts had to choose the tributes instead of them being reaped. So for the 50th games, the twist was worse or better, depending on how you want to look at it. Worse because it was double the tributes. Better because the 25th, the districts have to choose, and in this one they didn't. So, either way, they had to send their youngest to the games. Either way, it was bad. So, if you read The Hunger Games, you know that this is a book about how Haymitch Abernathy won the Hunger Games. And by this, I mean the Sunrise on the Reaping. Haymitch on the Hunger Games trilogy is the only living victor in District 12. By the time Katniss Everdeen and Peeta Mellark are reaped for the 74th games, that is how he had been living his life as the sole victor of District 12. But the adult Haymitch was a drunk and someone who wanted to be left alone. However, we knew deep down that he was the character we wanted to know more about. There was this mysterious, let's say, aura about him that we wanted to know. For me, he was like the top 5 characters that I wanted to know more about. Like what happened to him. It was clear he didn't have anyone and was alone in the Victor's village. But we didn't know the details of it all. We wanted to know. And that is why Suzanne, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce her name. She graciously went ahead and wrote this one and was like, hey, you want to know. So here you go, suffer with Haymitch and the pain he went through. The end. That's all about the book. That summarizes the whole book. I'm just kidding. I'll let you know a bit more about it. Haymitch was taken on his birthday, which means that for 20 freaking years after that, he had to go through the whole thing on his birthday. Seeing other kids being ripped and taken to the capital with him as a mentor, I mean, isn't that nice? No, it's not. It really isn't. It was like horrible from the beginning. Now, Hamish past and his connection with the coffee. This is a little bit where I get some. I mean, my rambling and ranting starts a little bit with this part, but okay. Anyways, we go to the capital with Hamish after we had a bit of an introductory District 12, who is young and who are his friends and who will be around later on. And they're like 100 years old by Katniss time instead of barely 40 years old like they should. And seriously, Katniss' mom, dad, and Hamish were the same age, and they all look terrible for people so young. I know, it was a rough life in 12 for them, but what's up with that? I mean, come on. We also get to meet Hamish's girlfriend, who we never knew about before. And she came from a group of people that were made up in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the coffee. They are made up for that book. I mean, I'm not making this up here myself, because Katniss singing came from her dad's side. In case you wonder about it, like, that side of things is a fact. If you read The Hunger Games and if you read the book about Snow, then you know this. Moving on, because that is not the important detail of it all. No, we go to the capital and be amazed by the change from the 10 Hunger Games when Lucy Gray Bear won the games thanks to snow cheating. The arena is now a bit more fantastical and modern, as it can be controlled and monitored. Unlike before, where they were dropped into a place, I think it was a sort of theater or something like that. I don't quite remember the name they gave it on the book, but they were dropped there like animals and, well, go ahead and fight. Now they are shower and dress and properly parade to the capital's rich people, more like Katniss time, but still without all the camera and flashing colors and everything. Half of it is like that, like what we see in Katniss and Pita's time, but not as much, because this is like 20 years before. The capital were able to get by with a lot by editing and filming everything live, and instead they had some feedback delay, which is something that Hamish find out as he's there going through it all. And when we go to the capital, we see a young Plutarch trying to help Hamish, but while still giving President Snow enough ammo to think he's loyal to him. You can see how manipulative he is and how he managed to hide his intentions for all those years. Like I said, this is spoilers all over, and that is what happened. And there's also a young Effie who also makes an appearance, but she's not yet District 12 host or escort. I think the right word is escort. Yeah. Now, since District 12 doesn't have a living victor as Lucy Gray Bear died long ago, Hamish shouldn't have a mentor, but the capital provides two who they deem are not the best. I mean, you can see it like that. And it's none other than young Wires and Max. Although Max is already pretty old, but not Asian as she is when she was on the 75th Hunger Games in Catching Fire. These two are not just mentoring Hamish, of course. There are 3 other tributes from District 12, but since they are going to die, you can forgive me for not talking about them that much. About them, it's not that I don't feel any sympathy for them, it's that you should read the book and form your own opinion about them. I'll leave you to that on your own. Or if not, you can discover it on the movie that will be theaters 2026. It is happening, and I don't want to watch the movie. It seems like it's gonna be great. I'm really excited about it. And the cast they have put together is like on point. It's amazing how it is possible to get the actresses to look like the book characters. You don't have to make up a lot. So yes. Do not get me started about how other casting directives are off the mark, and this one, Sunrise on the Reaping, is on point. I mean, it's insane how they manage to find people that will fit the characters. It is absolutely great. You should look it up. I'm not gonna talk about it because I'm talking about the book, but yes, it's there, it's happening, and I'm sure the movie's gonna be great. That's sidetracking, I know. So back to the book. From Hamish's point of view, he's going to die at some point, either in the games or before, because he's a pessimist and a realistic kind of guy who knows that the capital has a lot of power. It can do whatever the hell they want. Pardon my language. He was not going to get involved in any of it, but in the end he sure did. It was a slow-moving thing, but he went and got wrapped in trying to undermine the capital from inside the game. We don't know how that turned out for him, if you know from the Hunger Games. He didn't do anything. He didn't manage to, because the capital was still powerful at that point. The rebels were not organized enough or cunning enough yet. There wouldn't be a Katniss or a pizza to do it all if it had ended there at Hamish time. So you get to see how it went down, and I guess it made him more determined to try to keep the capital from being in power for all those years. I guess you could say he had some motivation for all the time. So how did Hamish won the fictive Hunger Games? It was not that he killed everyone by using the arena, but he did kill some people. He also tried to stay alive and to get so involved in the massacre at the beginning. But in the end, he went to the edge of the arena, somehow threw a weapon at him, someone threw a weapon at him, and it bounced on the force field, thus ending the other Trevor's life. All of which we had sort of seen on Catching Fire, but here we get to be inside the arena for a while. I hope they do justice to it on the movie, because it will be epic if they do that right and don't start putting extra flair on it. I mean, it's already a well done inside of the game by the author. It's well put together, and you can imagine it all very clearly. There's no need to add stuff to it, but I'm sure there will be, because I mean, it's a movie. But it's clear enough how Hamish did it all and how he won the games. After that, there's the party to celebrate Hamish's victory, going back to District 12, and then the horror. Everything that would be wrong. And if you thought everything would be happy at the end of the book, then you haven't been paying attention. There are so many spoilers, so I'm gonna put it simply. His family is gone. If you read the book, you read about how Snow did it because he was already that crazy and manipulative. But after all of it, then came the part that I liked the least about the book. We experienced the descent of Hamish into what he is in the Hunger Games, but it was a little bit too much for me. Like, it was over and over and over repeating the same thing, despair, pain, delusion, heart. It was not about that as a whole. It was about how it was presented, I guess, to the reader, to the point that I was like, yes, I got it already. Like, I mean, it was great. You know how it goes. You read a book, you toss it across the room, you pick it up, cry in a corner with the characters, and then go and recommend it like nothing of that ever happened. I mean, I know that it was necessary, but at some point, in some of the last pages of the book, as I was like, oh my god, okay, yes, he's in pain. Enough already. I guess we all interpret it in different ways. To be honest, I was almost skipping, but I didn't, of course. But I honestly thought about giving it like a paragraph or two, like, okay, yes, he's suffering, yes, he's crying, yes, he's, it's horrible. But that's just me. Now, as for the book and what I thought of Sunrise on the Reaping, as I said, I recommend it. I gave it 5 stars without thinking about it. I was into it. I couldn't stop reading it. And ultimately, it was the type of book I was expecting. Unlike The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Speaking of which, should you read The Ballad of Snow before reading this one? Not necessary. It's not like it is a sequel exactly. I think they pretty much stand on their own. You can read the other one first, or you can read this one and then be curious about before. I think it should be fine. Should you read The Hunger Games before reading Sunrise on the Reaping? Depending on how you want to look at things. Haymitch's book is a prequel to The Hunger Games, but it's more of a fun book than anything else. If you're not a fan, you're going to be like, so what happened and who is this character again? Stuff like that. I guess the fans of The Hunger Games were really into it, but if you're not, then it's gonna be a little weird for you. But if you want to immerse yourself in a good read about a bunch of teenagers being sent to a battle for their life, by all means read. It is a dystopian fiction book, and it can be read by those who enjoy that type of story, aka me. Sunrise on the Reaping is raw, emotional, and everything we needed to know about Haymitch. 5 stars from me, definitely. So, what did you think of Haymitch's journey? Would you have survived the fictive Hunger Games? I think I would have put myself in a situation like Haymitch, like try to survive and hide and everything, because there were double the tributes, so you had to be smart about it. Despite it all, he had a good strategy to it. But let me know in the comments or tag me over on Instagram at each page. I love to hear your thoughts on it, and don't forget that you can read the review and some of the posts from Sunrise on the Reaping on my blog, hpage.com. This is it for the start of season 3 of Each Page Flow. So stick around for more. There will be other books, reviews, chats, ranting coming up. And that's it for me. Thank you, dearies. See you on the next one.